Hi everyone. In this video, I will be exploring a graphic art style in this watercolor portrait. I'm really enjoying this watercolor sketchbook. This cotton paper is pretty nice, and the paint just melts right into it, making it very easy to blend and guide the paint around. And the only thing I would say that I'm struggling with is a little bit of water control, because the paper's like medium in absorption rate. It's not a super thirsty paper, and it's not a slick paper either. But I do tend to lay down a little too much water sometimes, so that's the only thing that I'm kind of having to adjust while using this paper. But it's not really a big deal. I have to learn that anyway, and I think we adjust to the different materials, and water control isn't just something you learn to do and then you got it. You kind of have to adjust it every time you use different things. So I'm doing something that I actually lean more toward in my style, and I really enjoy doing. And I don't know why I don't do it more, and I think I'm going to do it more actually intentionally. After I finished recording this video, I was, I really thought, this is kind of what I should stick to. Mostly, well, it's easy to see because it's bold, but some of the effects that I like to get, that I'm always searching for in watercolor, are the sliver of highlight that surrounds the edge of somebody's face, and the transition from, say, a highlight and then into a dark line, like around the bottom of the face and the chin here. So there's just like different nuances in graphic art that I find really appealing to look at and kind of analyze, I guess, when I'm looking at those types of paintings and things. And I love realism and abstracted realism and comic book style art, really bold ink design type work. But there's something about the way that light and shadow transitions in graphic art that is very, very different than in realism. And it just, like I said, it's just more appealing for me anyway to look at. So I was trying to capture that in this portrait, and that would mean a lot of really not overworking areas and just letting them be, and intentionally laying down the water and then the paint so that the paint would only go where I put the water. And I know that kind of goes without saying, if you do watercolor, that's what you're always trying to do, but it's a little bit different for this because I'm trying to achieve a hard edge in certain areas, and then let that hard edge be really hard on one side near the highlight, and then let it fade and melt in the other direction on the opposite side of that hard edge. So like around the cheek areas and the cheekbones, the edge of the nose, the forehead, things like that, where the planes of the face shift from facing you and then facing away from you. There's this area where it gets darker just before it hits the highlight, and I really like trying to render that. So to me, that's the difference between graphic art and realism, although it borrows that from realism. So it's really fun to do, and it kind of gives me a goal and an intention. And generally I work just hoping that whatever comes out looks good. And that's really not, bad if you're just doing meditative, I don't really want to think or plan anything out kind of thing. It has its place. But today I was really just trying to go for this certain effect. And yeah, if you notice, I taped my paper off, which I almost never do anymore. I used to do it all the time when I was first learning because I saw everybody doing it and thought, oh, you're supposed to do that. But it got kind of tiring. I was wasting a lot of tape, and I figured I would just reserve that for when I really wanted to get the clean edges. And since I wasn't doing, a real loose painting, this one was a little bit more, with the hard edges and lines. I wanted it to have a clean frame. The colors that I'm using are the basic two are complementary, so yellow and violet, and it's like a lemon yellow, like a Hansa is what they call it for M gram, but to me it's a cooler yellow. And that was the base tone for the skin, and dioxazine is the hair. And normally I would add different tones in the hair to suggest depth, but I wasn't going for depth in the hair. It was more of an abstract thing in this one. And what I was really going for was variation in line and shadow, or not shadow, but the intensity of the color. So whether it was really watered down or really concentrated. So whether it was, the tinting strength of the paint. There are different variations of that, and I used 2 or 3 different brushes to achieve the different line weights. I think I also used as a base to kind of mix with everything as I was just unifying it all was burnt sienna. And I put alizarin in the lips and anthraquinone blue in the eyes, and kind of use that dark blue in different areas for shadow and the facial features, because I felt dioxazine was a little too intense and it wouldn't really fade and be as subtle as that anthraquinone blue. So I went a little bit too wet in that area, and soon you'll see me keep testing it to see if it's dry, and I end up wiping it off because it's like a puddle, and I literally stick my finger in it and I just end up doing some finger painting and just wipe it off, and I have to let it dry, and it really annoyed me. So there in the forehead, on the side of the neck, that's where I'm doing that hard edge up against the sliver of highlight, and then letting it fade out in the other direction. And it gives it a type of depth. It's not a, it's graphic, so it's supposed to be somewhat flat, I guess is the term. But it still gives it a little bit of dimension when you've got those highlights and colors right up against each other like that. So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this. I really enjoy this style, and I hope to do more of it. So talk to you later.